Three, two, one. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Delusions of Grandeur. I am your host for today, and we are continuing the holiday tradition of Christmas type things, and we decided to go on about a freshly new film from this last year that kind of goes into this year, that was put out on HBO Max by director Michael Dowses, and it stars a couple people we know, a couple people we don't. One of them being someone I know from childhood, Doogie Howser as Neil Patrick Harris, Steve Zahn and Winslow Fegley, among others. I'm just gonna say what IMDb says about the film, and then we'll go into our first impressions. So, in 1980s Chicago, a 10-year-old sets out on a quest to get the Christmas gift of his generation, the latest and greatest video game system. So, first impressions. I'm going to start with you, Tammy. Was this a first-time watch for you?
Yes, it was first time. I wasn't sure what to expect because of the title. But I thought it was, you know, it was neat because he was telling his daughter a story about his childhood, and I kind of thought that was kind of neat. And at first she didn't want to hear it, you know, but became more and more interested. So it kept the interest going and everything, and made you. I'm kind of from that era, so it was like, oh yeah, I remember this, and yeah, things could have gone like that, and so there was some good things and bad things, but we'll get into that later.
Okay. Um, Heading over to you, Kroll. Was this a first-time watch for you?
Yes, and the last.
Well, I know that you had actually watched it when you heard about it, but you watched it again probably for this episode.
I did not watch it again.
Oh, you did not watch it again.
I didn't want to torture myself.
So, what was your impression of the film?
Well, as you might have guessed, I wasn't very impressed. Yeah, it just I wanted to love it because I love Nintendo. I loved that era. It's very nostalgic. I didn't feel very nostalgic in the movie. It didn't grasp that at all. Neil Patrick Harris is a great actor, but in this role, I don't think it was really his role. Just didn't work at all. The typical teenager thing, not wanting to do anything, and him getting her to tell the story was cool. That was a decent plot, but yeah, it just didn't go over all that well with me. I like I said, I wanted to like it, but I didn't.
Okay. Heading over to you, Boris. Was this a first-time watch for you?
Yes, today I watched this movie for the first time, and I have to say my impressions are very mixed. On one hand, the movie was very interesting. Throughout the whole story, it wasn't getting boring for a single moment. Like, there was a really good humor of fun and thrill and humor and stuff like that. But I have to say, I really disliked the ending, and it kind of ruined it for me, I must admit.
Yeah, it was a crappy ending.
You think so too, Kroll?
Yeah, definitely.
Interesting. If you don't mind me asking, what was it that you disliked about the ending?
He never got the. I mean, spoiler, but he never got the Nintendo for Christmas. I mean, they went with the whole, oh, I end up having to work for it and blah blah. I mean, that's fun and dandy, and they usually do that kind of stuff in a TV show, not in a movie. You want you go through the whole thing. You want a payoff, and I don't
Yeah,
think that was a payoff. That was he got screwed. He got screwed. He won the he did work hard. He worked hard doing selling those cookies. I mean,
in,
just because he had help from his sister by giving him a good idea, he still did all the work. He worked hard for it, and they suddenly decided, oh, Nintendo's bad, so we're going to give you encyclopedias instead. And kids that age don't want encyclopedias. They want Nintendo.
uh,
It was really really awful to do. It was. I mean, the movie wasn't awesome, but at least you got into it enough that you wanted the kid to have the payoff. And so I think
definitely.
they topped off a semi crappy movie with a really horrible ending. So that's my
Uh,
opinion.
yeah, well, I could add a few more things, but okay, maybe I shouldn't have asked about the ending now when the discussion has barely begun. I'm sorry.
That's
Dave, you
okay.
were going to. Thanks.
I'm sure we'll get into it a bit more as we
Yeah, well,
as we
we'll get
go.
into the exact reasons why, but yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. This was the first time watch for me, but I did watch it again just to flavor myself with what I was getting into, and for a first time watch, I don't think it was a bad watch, but I didn't think that it was as good a movie as I thought it was supposed to be. Now,
Right.
I did get uh, uh, I felt like this was trying to be another Christmas story type of a movie, because you have a narrator, and you have that narrator being Neil Patrick Harris. Now, the first thing I want to say, first thing off the board, is that if you were alive during the 80s, and it's not that I lived through the 80s, I was born in the 80s, but I knew of Doogie Howser. But I
Yeah,
also
Dewey was
knew
a great show.
that he came out that he wasn't a straight guy. So
He plays a better straight guy than
publicly,
most straight guys do.
true. On How I Met Your Mother, he plays a very good straight guy. But because I know that he came out as a not straight guy, it's hard for me to believe him to be the father that he is in this film.
No, I
Uh,
don't. I don't have a problem with that. Like I said, I mean, watching him in How I Met Your Mother, he's just absolutely hilarious. He was such a skirt chaser and womanizer and all the bad things that men are supposed to be. And he was so believable. It was so great. And he's a great actor. I don't feel that him being gay in real life had any impact on my feelings for him being the girl's dad. I just don't think he did that great of a job telling the story. And maybe that wasn't really his fault. That was more the writing. Um, but yeah.
Understandable. And well, let's get into the plot here. So we have Neil Patrick Harris apparently having to bring his daughter to his grandparents' place, and uh, they go into this whole thing where she wants a phone for Christmas, and that's when they come into the living room, and you see the Nintendo system sitting there on the underneath the entertainment system, and they have some time together. So he starts to tell her a story that happens in the 80s. What do we think about this wraparound where he's the father? What do we think about the father and daughter?
Uh, uh, well, I must say, although my opinion may be unpopular, but I kind of developed an instant dislike for the father character because the girl was asking for a phone and he just kept saying no and wouldn't even say why he wouldn't get her a phone if she wanted it so much. And then he even went to tell a story of how badly he wanted a Nintendo. And I was like, well, if you know what it's like to want something so much, why the hell won't you give your daughter what she wants, you asshole? But I still kept an open mind. I thought there would be some good explanation for it near the end, but there really wasn't one, and that's one of the reasons why I hated the ending. It kind of felt like. It kind of felt like he was a dick to his daughter just because his parents were the same way with him,
Right,
as if that was
right. It's
her
like, well,
fault.
I
And
didn't get one, so you're not getting one.
So, Tammy, what did you think about the whole father-daughter thing? Did you agree that with the whole phone situation and whatnot, or?
Well, I think there should have been more of an explanation as to why she couldn't have the phone instead of just, no, you're not getting a phone. And I mean, I thought the father daughter thing was kind of cute, at first, telling her the story of what he really wanted. And his parents said no. But there was actually more of like an explanation as to why his parents said no, that he's not giving her one up for the phone. He's just telling her this story.
Well,
So
I would
yeah.
say that the whole story is an explanation why that she's not getting her phone, because sometimes you just don't get it. Sometimes it's more about family than it is about getting phones, and that's basically the message of the movie.
they're getting what you want. Yeah.
Sometimes it's not about getting what you want.
Nice one, Kroll.
I
Well,
I know you came from the generation of always getting what you want.
No, I never got. A lot of times I didn't get. A lot of times I didn't get what I want, but you know what? I got a Nintendo, and I got an Atari. So a few times in my life
See,
I
the thing
did get
was,
what I want.
I never asked for that, but my great grandparents basically, if I wanted this for Christmas or that for Christmas, I got it. But I never asked for a Nintendo.
Yeah, I ain't asked for the Atari, but I was like 12 and didn't really know about it. You know, I mean, I think I knew about it, but I didn't think they even asked for it or whatever. And it just so it was like a complete surprise. Like, oh my god, this is like the awesomest thing in the world when I got it. But the Nintendo, I knew about the Nintendo. I was 16 when Nintendo came out, and I was like, yeah, I want the Nintendo. The Atari's been great for 4 years, but it's time to upgrade.
I remember knowing a family of 10 that homeschooled their children, and they had an Atari and had like almost every single game for it. And so we would go over there and play. And I didn't get a Nintendo because I wanted it. We just ended up getting it one year. And then also, like, within the next couple of years, we got the Super Nintendo. And then that's where my family stopped. And then, like, when I was in my, like, when I was like 14 or 15, my parents decided to get a Wii. And this was like when I was already in my teenager years. By then, I had somewhat grown out of gaming for a little bit. But then I got back into gaming
Preposterous.
when I finally actually got some game systems from Brandon a couple of years ago. So gaming hasn't. Gaming has always been a borrowed thing for me, where I would go over to a friend's place and play the games that they had, But I've never fully had the money to get the systems myself. So,
Oh.
I guess the reason I never really asked for it or whatever is kind of the same thing, but being an only kid and things were a little bit different when I didn't have really friends to go play with and stuff when I was home. Is if I went by my great grandparents, then I got to go play with friends and stuff. So I went to friends' houses that had, the Nintendo and the Atari at the time and all that. So I guess it wasn't that big of a deal for me because I wasn't going to
Uh,
get to play it or really enjoy it if I asked for it unless I was by my great grandparents. So
uh,
why
I,
even bother?
I'm sorry, just a moment, please. Uh, Molim. Ćao. I ja sam da video u chatu, ne znam, nije vama. Mislim da je kod bake. Okej. Okay, I'm here. Sorry about this.
not a problem. Sometimes we have interruptions.
Yeah.
But yeah, me, I just it. I did while I was. I used to have a friend that used to like crash over on his couch, and we would like play Dungeons and Dragons Online Storm Rage, and he helped create a character for me, and I played on his account. So many of my experiences with gaming was on other people's systems. I had a I had a I had a guy. He had a disability, and he was like 48 years old when I was like 15, 16. And I would go over to his place, and he had uh, PlayStation 2, 3DO, Sega Saturn, Sega Genesis, and he lived with his mother, and I would play games on his systems, and that's how I would game. So for the most part, I mean, Nintendo and Super Nintendo were awesome for what they came out with, but once you played like games numerous times on the same games that you've had, and have no way of like really having the ability to get more
Rent
games.
them, dude. That's why I went to video stores.
My parents didn't allow me to do that.
So they get you a system and then don't allow you to be able to get out of the games. That's horrible.
It was just how it was. I mean, we could only afford what we could at any given point in time. So,
my mother was very poor, but I mean, I had a little bit from allowance or Christmas gifts or whatever, and anything I had, I saved up, and instead of renting movies like Mo, I rented video games. But yeah, I definitely grew up very poor, and I totally get that. I saved up myself, or if I had, like when I had a paper route, I saved my money for that, and then I worked for Pick, and I saved my money for that.
I guess when it came down to it, if it was between videos and video games, we could only afford the videos at that given point in time when it was renting.
Well, like I said, I got it myself. I worked myself and paid myself for it. It was Christmas gifts or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't like, Mom, can you give me money for the movies or whatever, you know. Sometimes my mother would, because she went to bingo a lot, and I was watching my sister, so she'd give me some money to rent a movie or whatever, and I'd probably rent a movie then, but later on I'd rent games and stuff. So
Yeah, but so he tells her his daughter this story where he really wanted a Nintendo system, and he went to his mom, went to his dad, made like the su- suggestion, and then when he asked them point blank, they both told him no, and his sister, she wanted
he
a
wants a
Cabbage Patch Kid.
Nintendo.
And it kind of goes into this whole neighborhood thing where there's this bully. He's kind of a bully. Where
Kinda.
yeah, there's because there's two antagonist bullies. There's normally not two antagonist two
Wait, two?
entirely
I only saw two.
separate bullies.
Oh yeah, the rich kid.
The rich kid, the rich kid who had the Nintendo, had the pool, the whole entire game thing in his basement. You know.
Well, honestly, the rich kid would have been kind of amusing, although, yeah, he was bad, but I still thought he was kind of funny until the dog got hurt. That was when I no longer liked him.
In the 80s, if you had a pinball machine, an actual pinball machine in your fucking basement, a pool table in your basement, a arcade game in your basement, these were things that not many 80s children had.
Oh, not at all.
I mean, if anything, it was the Nintendo system that we all kind of had during that time period, except for Tammy.
Well, my neighborhood didn't have it, but they all came to my house.
And the one thing that I thought that was interesting that they brought into the whole thing was the Power Glove.
Yeah, I thought I used to watch that and think that was kind of cool. But then I was like, I'm not sure if I really wanted it or not. So I wasn't all that enthused. And then I heard it didn't work. It was a piece of garbage. So I was pretty glad I didn't get it.
I must say, I found it pretty hilarious when he showed the glove and made his mother play holding out for a hero at the moment.
It was definitely.
And Dave, you muted yourself.
All right, sorry about that. My mic dropped for a moment. So
mic drop.
But
you were talking about people having, my friend that I went over and played her Atari and Nintendo. My great grandparents and her parents lived in a area where it was a subdivision. And you basically, if you lived in that subdivision, you had money, and she had like a room that it wasn't in the attic. Okay. But it kind of looked like an attic, because of the way the room was set up. But the whole thing was, yes, I'm a girl. So the whole thing was Barbie stuff. I mean, Barbie stuff. So you guys were talking about if you had this in the basement, that in the basement, everything else, that was something. Well, her place having all of that was something. It was a whole separate room we weren't going to go play in her bedroom, or we weren't playing downstairs or whatever. This whole room, was everything that you like think of. And then we would go downstairs and play the video games. Those were downstairs. And she was the only one that I got to go play, like the Atari and then the Nintendo, was, her parents did have money, and if she wanted this or wanted that, she got it. And like I said, me being a girl, if she was a good boy, yeah, she might have had close to the setup of that kid, you know, but she was a girl.
Yeah, me and my
And back
11
then, girls weren't into video games like they are today.
me
No,
and my
not really.
and me and my 11 and 12-year-old mind, when I first met that 48-year-old dude that had all these systems. I mean, he was the only one on the block that I ever wanted to hang out with, because he had all the shit. And we did a lot back then, him and I. And it was nothing like bad or anything like that. I mean, maybe
Yeah, little
not.
boy.
I mean, it was a little bit of a weird relationship, because he was that much older, but we got along, and maybe his mind was like that of a teenager. Um, I think he very much lived inside the gaming worlds. He was the first one who introduced me to the Laserdisc, which was pretty awesome. I saw Predator 2 on Laserdisc at that
Wow.
age. So
Interesting.
Flash Gordon I saw for the first time on Laserdisc. I mean, that was cool. So, but
Wow.
I mean, I do get the nostalgia for the game systems. I don't think there's anyone here that cannot say that it was definitely a thing of the 80s, because it was the birth of the gaming systems. So
Well, actually, the first Atari came out in 1978.
I know, but a lot of those games, even though they are nostalgic, were very, very slow.
Oh yeah.
To play. I think Breakout was one that was on the Atari. I think there was an Indiana Jones game that was on Atari. God, he was so blocky. Donkey Kong was on Atari.
Oh yeah.
Centipede was.
Was that Breakout, or was that Pong? Was it Pong that we were playing that one day? And my cat was. I have a 42-inch TV, and she sat in front of it watching the little ball moving around on the screen. And it was so cute because she put her little paws on the entertainment center. So she was right up there by the TV watching this thing.
I think it was Breakout.
I think so.
But yeah, but what do we think about that whole the whole video game rich kid moment, where all the kids seem to gather in front of his house? He only picked like several kids to come in, and the way that he treated them. What do we think?
He was a jerk, man.
Yeah, he had enough
Just
room that
because
he
he
could
had
probably.
money and had all this stuff, it's like, why couldn't you just be nice and share instead of being like,
Well, to be
such.
fair, even though he had a giant house, there was a shitload of kids. There's no way all the kids could have come to the house. You
Well,
know?
no, but
I
see,
shared, and like all the neighborhood kids were pretty much at my house, but there wasn't that as many as there were in the movie. That was just like ridiculous.
Yeah, well, uh, instead of choosing who would be allowed and who wouldn't, he could have just had them take turns so everyone would get a chance to play for a while.
Yeah, He definitely could have. What did we think about the main the kid that played him as a young kid?
Uh, well, I did like his younger version, but as an adult, I felt he was an asshole, as I said at the beginning. But as a kid, he was okay. As Kroll said, I was rooting for him to get that Nintendo.
I'm gonna be
And
honest. I would never give a child that young a phone. Like, like I would see. To me,
But would you tell him why?
yeah, why?
Maybe when they were older.
I'd tell him why.
I
I mean, I wouldn't get a kid that young a phone like that either. So I totally got that, but not to even say why or just tell her this story about how he wanted something so bad, never got it either. It's just kind of like lame.
Hmm. Well,
Yeah.
some parents are lame. I will say that.
What I thought was gonna happen is I thought he was gonna get the Nintendo and then realize that his daughter was just like him, and maybe get her a phone, or maybe not quite the one she wanted or whatever, maybe a cheaper version or something.
See,
So like a payoff for both.
I didn't get a phone until I went to college. My parents got me a pay by the minute phone.
They
where
didn't
I
have phones when I would have gone to college. Well, I mean, okay, they had the '80s phones, but I didn't want one of those.
I got a Virgin Mobile.
I got one of those, but I was well in my 20s and got it myself.
Well, I think she's a little. I do think you gotta picture the story is best set back in the 80s, but her father and her are set now, and everybody has a phone.
Yep.
Okay? Now
I've seen like preschoolers with phones.
I can see him saying, "Okay, you're not gonna get the most advanced or whatever phone. You're going to just get a basic that you can talk to your friends, and that's it. And you're only going to have so many
Yeah,
minutes."
that's what I'm saying. I mean,
See, they used to have phone cards.
Yeah.
Yep, they still do.
But there's no such thing as a payphone anymore.
No payphone, but they still have phone cards you can use with your cell phone or whatever, or you can buy so many minutes of on the cards as well on the phones.
I used to do that all the time before phones became a thing. The only person I called long distance was my dad. And I used to get phone cards so that I didn't have to pay for long distance on my home phone.
Right, exactly.
Before cell phones became a thing. Because even though my dad's only an hour away, it's still considered long distance, So I would usually call him on the card and talk for a few minutes. And if we wanted to continue talking, then he'd call me back, because he had long distance.
Right. I did when it came to the parents. I did like the whole thing where he set it up, where if you gave two things to my mom to do, she was fine. But if she gave if you gave three things, then she would have no other choice but to say something different. I did like that aspect. I thought that was kind of cute.
I mean, there was a couple moments in the film, but
the dad seemed like kind of a ditz. His dad.
I don't think so. I don't agree with that.
He did it in a way. He just.
I think the dad to me was more like an old school dad, where he wanted to do stuff with his kid, which is good, and he wanted to build things and fix things that he liked. And he wanted his son, being who's going to grow up to be a man, to be able to do the same things,
But the way he
so
went
I totally get that, and he doesn't understand this whole video game thing. Like he's completely clueless with what it is or what it's about, or just
like
he thinks you should go outside and play and stuff. And I totally get that. I mean, I grew up in that time period where it was a thing to go outside and play.
Well, yeah, I did too, but I don't know, just the way he acted at times. He just seemed kind of, you know, all he thought about was what he was building and this and that, and yeah, he wanted to bring his son into it, but uh, when he wasn't doing that, he seemed kind of ditzy, you know.
Oh, I get it.
In a
I get
fun,
what you're saying.
in a fun way, though. I mean, not that he was nasty or nothing. He just seemed kind of ditzy in a little bit of a way.
Well, I think his mind was still on whatever he was building, so his brain wasn't entirely there. you know, it's like when a guy is always thinking about football scores, when his wife is trying to tell him about her day. So
Or when your wife is trying to tell you about something and all you can think
Sorry,
about
guys.
is the movies you're talking about and thinking about, right?
right there we go. So you get it, anyways. So, so what do we think about the mom in the story?
I mean, she had a little bit more of a clue. She knew it was called a Nintendo, which it wasn't, but she was closer than anybody else.
Mm, well, I must admit I didn't like her much or the father either because throughout the whole movie, neither of them, there was not a single moment of either of them giving any sign that they actually gave a shit about how their son felt.
I agree with
Except
that.
maybe
I definitely agree with that. They definitely seem to not care about the kid, and the little sister was always teasing him, and
yeah.
which
At the end, there was yes.
But
Uh,
by the end, the sister seemed like she was actually treating him like a brother, but for
right.
the
I mean,
most
that's
part,
how
she
brothers and
seemed to
sisters
be
are.
like,
Brothers and sisters are exactly like that. I grew up. I was 11 years old with my sister, and it didn't make a difference. I picked on her. She picked on me. We loved each other to death, but we definitely teased each other. We definitely. But there was definitely times when we were brother and sister, and there's times when we fought. It's just that's the way it goes with siblings.
"Yep, I
No
fought
matter
with my
what.
sister a lot."
Well, I was
You
the
know.
only child, but it's like the mom seemed like a very busybody for she seemed like a busybody for everybody else.
Right.
Not not a busybody for the kids. She paid a little bit more attention to the sister than she did to the son, but she seemed
Typical.
she was more consumed with everything else she had to do for this person and that person. She's making the cookies for this
I
person
mean,
and making the cookies for that person and that, you know.
look
Yeah,
how
she wouldn't even let
brainwashed.
she wouldn't even let the kids have like one little piece or whatever because it's got to go to someone else. Like, come on, you
Well,
know.
yeah, and also she was like, "I told you not to give your hopes up." She didn't want to give her children hope for anything. You know.
Yeah, and then
uh,
on that note, that was about the school closing because they said the school never ever closed no matter what for snow. And they
I
were
don't
Yeah.
watching
remember
the
that.
snow report and she said, "Don't get your hopes up." And when they said did not say that school and the kids got all disappointed, she actually went and shoved all this stuff off the counter and had her own like little fit because it wasn't closed. And here she told them not to be disappointed, and you can see that she was, you know.
and
Mhm.
Dave, what were you saying about brainwashing?
Oh yeah, later during the PTA meeting, look how brainwashed she was during that whole
Ugh.
ban the Nintendo issue, and it just reminded me of like the 1950s comic book ban, um, where they were trying to say that video games were violent and shit like that.
The
Uh,
music was violent.
well,
Everything was
yeah,
violent.
Yeah,
mu-
I remember the music thing too.
The day
Mm,
the music died.
I signed more than one petition when I was in high school about music.
Well, Dee Snider
Yeah.
definitely was a heavy contender for fighting for the rights for music.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah,
A lot
I
of things, a
always.
lot of things back in the 80s. That's why I said, this film, it's not far fetched. Okay, you know about them banning about the whole banning with the
Oh, they're
video
not.
games
I
and
mean,
stuff.
they
It's not
caught
far
some things right. I mean,
right. There was things
video games were immediately bad. When it came
right,
out.
and at that time everything was. They were banning video
Atari
games.
never
They were,
got that stigma. It wasn't until Nintendo that shit became bad.
but like I said, it wasn't far fetched because
But
at that time they
every
were
video
doing
game system since has been bad,
right.
and music is still bad, and blah blah blah
Yes.
is bad. And you know what?
well,
Shut the fuck up.
there are still game artists that are dirty. Dirty. I mean, look what happened with the whole GTA nonsense when Vice City came out. That there was that hidden room in Grand Theft Auto where you could visit a sex place. You know,
A
I
lot of
mean,
games had that hidden thing.
Well,
you
the
know,
thing is, everybody got on the bandwagon, and they have since the 80s about a lot of things. And then, kids themselves have made it even worse because look at the Slender Man thing. There wasn't a video game, but it was still something that, then all of a sudden, oh, online stuff isn't good, and, this isn't good. And then movies aren't good. And it's like every time you turn around, and a lot of it started back in the 80s.
well,
That's
yeah,
when they started banning all kinds of stuff and saying all kinds of
that's
stuff was bad.
that's part of the cancel culture. Uh, uh, uh,
uh,
cancel
don't
culture.
even get don't even get me started on those pieces of garbage.
Well,
Right?
they started banning things long time ago when they thought that things were dangerous. I mean, comic books of all things are dangerous to our children's minds. Oh my God,
Uh,
they're going to go out and kill people because of these things. Just
They're
because the
gonna put
comic book
hooks.
tells
They're
them
gonna
to.
put hooks on their hands and chop people up.
yeah, by that logic, after all the horror movies I've seen, I would have been a psycho killer. No.
Who's to say you don't have a
Well,
few dead
even
bodies in your
Ban
basement?
horror movies.
even back, when
I
he
saw.
first started the story, and he said he was riding his bike, and his daughter goes, "Well, did you have your helmet on?" And he thought for a minute, and he goes, "Okay, yeah, I had a helmet on." And she's like, "I didn't wear no damn helmet in the 80s."
Nobody wore a helmet or knee pads and that stuff. He made that up because he wants his daughter to believe that they did because he wants her to be safe.
Yep.
Well,
All
yeah.
these parents that grew up with all this stuff suddenly became, oh my God, my kid might get hurt. We better protect them. And now all of a sudden it became the thing.
It's
you gotta have seatbelts. You gotta have pads. You gotta have the
it's
helmet.
it's
Like
just it's just like you with your mom, Tammy, when she called Led Zeppelin long-haired maggot music.
mega demons.
Maggot music, long-haired maggot music. That's what she called it, and she knows
Well,
that.
I know damn well she listened to it when she was when she was younger. But when I got into it, oh no, 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 it's that long haired Megan music, rah, 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 and it's like,
That's weird. Like,
Mhm.
how does your taste change? Like I mean, my taste changed a little bit that I like more, but I don't like I don't like not like I mean, Motley Crue's still my favorite band, and obviously they're not quite relevant. And well, even
well, she
when
just didn't
I
want
see
it.
Vince now, I'm like repulsed because he can't fucking sing, he can't fucking do anything. He looks like 3 times the size of himself.
Well,
So
she just, she didn't want it. She didn't want to admit that she actually liked the stuff, and so she, had to come down on me for liking it because, you know,
my mother liked the only thing my mother liked then was pretty much was Bon Jovi, and at the time Motley Crue and Bon Jovi were my favorite bands, so she liked one of the two of my favorite bands. She knew Motley Crue, but so everything I listened to was, oh, is that Bon Jovi? If it's softer, it was Bon Jovi. If it was heavy metal, it was Motley Crue. So she at least knew what I liked. But
But
I remember
it goes back to the whole thing of like trying to some way, I guess, protect your child because you don't want them to do the things that you did.
I wasn't even trying to do that though.
That's what I think she was trying to do is, oh no, now she's gonna like the music that I liked back then, so I gotta tell her that's no
But I
good.
mean, that Zeppelin was not bad music at all. It wasn't any kind of like it wasn't one of those ones that were put on as devil music or whatever, like Motley Crue was and Iron
Oh,
Maiden and
although there is that thing that's supposed to be able to be heard backwards on the album on Stairway to Heaven.
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, I heard about that.
It's actually true because
Yeah.
I have the album and I have played it. And part
I'm
of it,
sure it wasn't done on purpose. It was just kind of a thing that happened, but
but it is there. And actually, if you take the album and you open it up, and the guy is standing on the rocks, and you open it up and you put it against the mirror, it makes a devil's face.
that's cool.
Ooh.
They did
Nice.
that on purpose.
But see, I think my mom was trying to do, trying to make. She thought that if I got into the stuff that she got into, that I would get into trouble or whatever. That's why I think she was trying to downplay when she found that out that I like Led Zeppelin because she was trying to make herself look like the goody goody and oh I never listened to that so kind of like so I shouldn't type
Kind of
of
like
thing.
the mother in Back to the Future is like, oh, I never called a boy or anything, and she's, and then we see how she really was.
Well, we got over that discussion real quick because she was trying to make herself look so innocent. I said, "Well, you can't be innocent," and she's like, "Why?" And I said, "Cause I'm here." And that she was 17 when I was born, so that means you were not innocent.
Not that innocent.
So that kind of ended the discussion with the Led Zeppelin with her and me.
Yeah.
Oh, nice one.
Yeah, stop trying to act like you're so innocent because you're not.
Anyways, we have that whole incident where the kid, the rich kid, he ends up kicking over the TV and like, well, we think that the cat's been destroyed or
It kills the
splatted.
cat,
Or,
yeah.
well, he doesn't exactly kill it because
It's a
Right, we
dog.
saw him
It's
kill the cat.
it was a weird looking dog, not a cat.
The funny thing
yeah.
about it is I did something similar. Well, nothing happened to a pet. I did kill a Nintendo. My first one. When I kicked the TV, I was very pissed.
Oh,
Actually,
Yeah.
I wasn't pissed about the video game though.
can anyone imagine what I would say in that situation?
Spoodow.
Yes, exactly. That's what I said when
Get
the
out.
kid. I'm sorry, what did you say, Kroll?
That's what I was asking. What did you say? Skedow?
Spoodow.
Spoodow?
Yeah.
Yeah,
gets
funny,
Go ahead. Explain it.
funnily enough, it comes from a video game, actually. From
Plants versus Zombies.
Yes,
Ah.
yes.
There's a monster that I think is called Spoodow, and so ever since he saw it on that video game or whatnot, he says Spoodow everything to everything that crashes or spills or anything like that. So it's just his thing.
That's funny.
Pretty much. I don't say it because of the video game itself, but because I used to watch a YouTuber playing that game, and whenever this potato mine would explode in the game and the word "Spudao" would appear on the screen, the guy would. The guy would stop whatever he was saying and he would just yell, "Spoodow!" and I found it hilarious. So I started to use it too in situations when, well, in the game that thing explodes, but in real life I don't encounter many situations when something explodes.
No, not
So
usually.
See, that's why video
yeah,
games are bad. You're the perfect example.
Well, yeah, because it's much better for things to explode in real life than in a video game.
Uh, so I'm an example of video games being bad because I
No, you're
started to
not.
say Spudao.
No, you're not.
So the next moment that I think I want to talk about is the King of the Mountain moment, where
I played that.
I have too. I mean, I remember playing it in like second to third grade.
We
I
didn't
remember
have no
making
fucking
tunnels.
20-year-old fucking standing on top of the mountain, though.
Well,
I played it
this
too.
was anyone King of the Mountain?
I was.
No,
I know I was.
no.
But I
We
also
didn't
remember making a
have-
lot of tunnels underneath the damn mountain. We used to have snows that would
Oh, I
that
remember
would
the
come
igloos.
being so thick.
The snow caves we made and stuff. Kept you pretty
Yeah,
freaking warm outside too.
and it was great whenever you could actually dig right underneath the King of the Mountain and have him fall through.
We didn't even do that.
Oh, we did. It was so much fun. But
See, I wasn't. I played King of the Mountain, and I got sick of getting pushed off the mountain. I just got really determined. I went up there and I pushed the king off the damn mountain, and I was king of the mountain.
Oh. Well, we didn't
what did we think about this moment though?
Well, they that whatever it is, you know, he was way too old to be around
Yeah.
the kids. Way
Yeah,
too
way
old.
too. I was kind of like, why the hell is this, kid playing? I mean, he's not. He was a high schooler,
Should have been a
or-
high schooler.
Well, he just never passed the grades, so he just stayed. He's just that kind of a kid, just more of a troublemaker, and just didn't seem to ever want to. What is it? Pass the grades that he was failing all the time, probably.
Well,
He sure
one thing
failed a lot of grades to be there at that age.
Yep.
One thing I dislike about that character is that he is the only one who seems to be a metalhead according to the way he dresses.
Yeah. They
Therefore-
kind of made the impression that if you're a metalhead, you're stupid and a bully. And I took
Yeah,
exception to that. I was very smart, and I was definitely not a bully.
Yeah, that's
Well, yeah,
true.
I kind of got
Many-
that too.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
many friends of
So-
mine are metalheads, and they are definitely not like that. They are actually just the opposite of
Yeah,
that
he
guy
would have.
there.
In reality, he would have either been a jock or a preppy. He wouldn't have been a fucking metalhead. The metalheads weren't the ones that were fucking bullies. It was the jocks or the preppies.
Well,
Most
this
of the
was
metalheads that
supposedly
I knew-
Chicago.
Well, most
Huh?
of the metalheads that I knew, I agree with Kroll, were not. They kind of stuck to their own group, and they didn't really mess around with anybody unless somebody messed with them. And if you messed with them, then yeah, you know.
Gonna be honest, if I was a true Packer fan, which I am not, even though I am in Wisconsin, I'll root for them if they're winning. But if I were a true diehard Packer fan, I would hate the fucking father. Because when he was running through the mall to go after his kid, he ran into that elf and he was like, "Oh, you're a Packer fan." Made comments like that. That if I were a true diehard Packer fan, I would hate the father.
But what about when
Yeah,
he was
didn't
driving to
he?
the mall and
Yeah,
that
did.
car cut in front of him and he goes, "Oh, it's from Wisconsin. That's why they're driving like that."
Oh yeah. I was reminded of Dave when I heard that comment.
But the thing that's funny about that though is us being in Wisconsin, we actually say that all the time about Illinois drivers.
Yeah, that is true. We
Now
do.
in Boston, we say, "Oh shit, they must be a native Boston driver." Fuckers in Boston don't know how to fucking drive, man.
Well, Boston alone is hard to drive in.
It is. Not only it's hard to drive in, but people that drive there don't know how to drive in there.
Well, then they should learn.
They should. They should learn. Like they're just fucking. I remember going to a club there. We went to a club in Boston, and we were like right around the corner from the club. We were like right there, and we got into a fucking accident. Someone fucking slammed us.
Hmm.
Like ruined our whole night. We didn't get to the club because we ended up having to fucking get a ride, get the car towed, and all this other shit. It was fucking. It was stupid, man.
How do they drive in Croatia?
I hated going to Boston in the cab. The only time I didn't mind is like Logan Airport, 3 o'clock in the morning. I took the Ted Williams Tunnel, which was supposed to be for official use only. Cabs were included in that, so I could just take a quick tunnel and just fly right in there, fucking drop the people off, go right back. That's the only time I didn't mind going to Boston. But other than that, I fucking hated going to Boston.
Yeah, from what I understand, the way Boston is set up during the Revolutionary War, they actually built those roads to keep the enemies out.
Well, they never changed it.
Yeah, they didn't, and they just built upon it. So all the roads go to nowhere. you know.
Yeah, it's really it's like you're constantly going to like a rotary that's not a rotary, and it's like the GPS says take a left turn. There's 3 left turns.
Was it like
it's like I bought the GPS to help me with Boston because even trying to look at the map in Boston is just fucking ridiculous. So I got the GPS and then I'm like, great, the GPS don't fucking know either. It's just
I know,
and everything's a one way, and it isn't a one way that lasts for like a couple streets. It's a one way that goes from one side of Boston to the other, and you can't ever seem to get over to the other side to go the other way.
Is it like that in Croatia, Philly?
It's the Boston needs a complete overhaul. Like, I mean, it would never happen because all those people would have to move somewhere else or whatever. Like they would have to just like tear down most of Boston and rebuild it to make it drivable. Like it was think about it. It was also there was no cars when they built Boston. They used a horse and buggies. So it was built for horse and buggies, not for vehicles.
All right. Well, what's it like in Croatia?
Well, the town I live in is fairly small, and it's not too difficult to drive here, although I'm a bit of a clumsy driver myself, so I usually stick to the roads I'm very familiar with. I get a little anxious when I drive through places I haven't driven through before, and I believe if I was in a bigger city like Zagreb, the capital of Croatia, I would probably struggle to drive there, but maybe that's just me because, as I said, I'm a bit of a clumsy driver. I try to be as careful as possible, but yeah, whenever there is any structure on the road that I don't have enough experience with, I often find myself in situations of not knowing what to do, and yeah, that's why I don't have a driver's license, but I'm not much of a driver except when it comes to places I'm properly familiar with and feel safe and comfortable driving through, then it's okay.
I need to come there and learn you how to drive.
But anyways, so after the King of the Mountain moment, we get the whole. Uh, well, his mother bought him these boots.
that was actually funny and definitely something that would happen.
Funnily enough,
Well,
I
I like
don't
it,
know.
but I'm a
God
girl.
forbid if you showed up in school with fucking girls' boots.
Well, and that fucking teacher was disgusting. Did you see that she after she blew her nose, she stuck it up her sleeve?
No, I missed
Oh,
that.
Yeah.
I didn't
Well, that was
notice
typical
that.
too.
But that was the thing then, my
It
great
was.
grandmother, she would, if she didn't use the whole tissue, she would blow her nose and stick it up her sleeve. It was a thing.
It is gross, but it was a thing then.
I
really
just can't.
was.
I just can't see that, especially since
I didn't
most
say it
of
was
my
a good
snot
thing.
is
I just
like
said it was a
wet.
thing.
I mean, most of my snot is wet, no matter how much of the tissue that I've used. So sticking it up my
That's
sleeve,
not
I'd be.
nice.
Yeah, but it's snot on your sleeve,
I
Anyways,
agree. Like when I used to see a handkerchief, I'm like, I'm never fucking getting one of those. Those things are fucking
well,
gross,
what
man.
was the purpose of having like a hanky? Once you used it, what are you gonna do with it? Now you got to take it home and wash it.
They don't though. They just fucking keep reusing the fucking dirty, fucking scrubby, fucking crunched up fucking snots.
But my dad, whenever he went to the office, he'd have a hanky, and I just saw no use for them.
Me neither.
But
But back to the boots, though. He had that poor kid. Because a girl that he liked actually had the same damn boots too. And then the teacher made it. Well, you can't go and do this unless you put your boots on. She made it even worse for him.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, she gets him a girl's boots, and then makes him wear.
I wanted to deck that. I wanted to deck that teacher. I really did.
No, that mother was horrible.
Well, and later on, she said that they were on sale, and she thought they were cool.
Because they were for girls.
Well, she obviously liked her daughter better, so I guess she was.
This is why you don't let your mother do your shopping for you.
No, you do the picking out, and you stand your ground, no matter how much it looks on you.
I mean, not saying that you have great taste either, because boys, I know I didn't have the greatest taste at all either, but at least better than my mother. I remember there's a picture of me. It was a picture day, so I had to look so cute,
Mm-hmm.
So my mother dressed me in these fucking brown corduroys with a fucking brown shirt and a brown sweater and a Snoopy necklace. No, I'm sorry, not a Snoopy, a Snoopy, a Smurf. And it was just like, I looked ridiculous, and
corduroys.
And of course, I got teased for it, and
corduroys.
I mean, yeah, I
were
like the
definitely
Smurf,
a
but
thing
no
of
one
the
wore a
80s.
Smurf. People like the Smurfs, but we didn't talk about liking the Smurfs. It was everyone's dirty little secret.
Yeah,
corduroys and fucking turtlenecks. Oh God, I hated turtlenecks.
I love turtlenecks when I was well. Okay, I got into a phase where I was kind of trying to dress like a preppy, but I still was a metalhead. I just wanted to dress different. It was a phase.
That was the thing.
I never stopped listening to the music I listened to, and I didn't cut my hair. Hell no, my hair was long, and I was Samson. You can't cut my hair. That's my power. I mean, I looked horrible with long hair, but I didn't know that then.
I'm guessing you had what was called the mullet.
I did not. I did not. I did not have a mullet. No. I just had long, scruffy hair, and it was. I looked more like a girl than the guy, and I didn't see that, but I see it. I saw it later. Look at that picture.
See,
going,
my mom
"God."
always. My mom. Oh God! When
My
I was a
mom loved
kid,
long hair too, which
my,
is unlike most parents. My uncle was always like, "Cut your hair,
when I
cut your
was a
hair."
baby, she liked sailor suits, so she would dress me up in sailor suits.
Oh,
God.
interesting.
That was a thing of the '80s. She's got one of those baby pictures in her home somewhere, probably of me and my sister. I'm in a sailor suit, and my sister is in a polka dot dress with like doily collar whatnot. Yeah.
Did
I'm sorry, but I look back on them and was like, was I adopted?
Yeah, I hear ya. Oh, that's too funny.
did your mother also like Sailor Moon when it came out?
No, she doesn't like Japanese animation, and neither does Tammy.
I agree with her.
Ah,
I don't either.
that's sad. But
Although I did like the
it's
Star
your
Wars
way.
one.
That wasn't a
That's-
Japanese. Was there a Japanese animation version of Star Wars?
Yes, Visions. It's all
Really?
Japanese directors.
Huh.
The whole thing is all shorts by Japanese directors.
Could
That's their whole pitch with it.
I'll have to
Could
check
you
it out.
please send me that on Facebook? I've never heard of that before.
Well, maybe we'll have to cover it one of these
It's on
days.
Disney Plus. Well, it's a series, so it's not a movie. It's bunch of different little episodes, kind of more like a anthology thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
Yeah, each episode is completely different story done by a different director.
Okay. Sounds like it might be actually unique.
It is.
Well,
It is. I mean, I didn't know
other
how I felt about it when I heard about it, but it's Star Wars, so I had to check it out, and I liked it. I really did. I'm glad it's not canon because some of it's a little weird, but I definitely enjoyed it for what it was.
Well, in any case,
well, other than
Is
the
it
boots,
weirder?
she didn't seem to dress him too bad. Other than the boots, I mean, he's
Yeah, I mean his clothes were fine. It was just his freaking boots, like
right.
and
His
and
sister
and,
did-
and I do agree with that part with the bully. Obviously he's way too fucking old. We had one that was a couple years older in my school, but I was actually a year ahead of most people, and but I still wasn't. I wasn't a bully, but you definitely would get picked on for wearing fucking girls' boots. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Fun fact: I actually own a pair of women's boots myself.
You should
Although
get
they
picked
were
on.
bought for I didn't wear them to school. They were bought for a cosplay project. They are entirely black. So even if they were worn, if the
You
the
might
rest
be able to
of the
get away with people not realizing it's a girl's boot.
yeah. But I don't actually wear them. It was just for a cosplay, but I still have them as I never throw my cosplay stuff away. So, yeah, I have that.
That shit's expensive.
I had boys' boots because I wanted moon boots.
Well, see, it's fine for a girl to wear boys' clothes.
But I wanted moon boots. You remember moon boots?
It's definitely a one of those double negative. It's one of those things, but
You
it'll never.
remember
I mean, even now, I know people are more tolerant now, and it's more acceptable to a degree, but some people I can't get into it. Like that's one of the main reasons I don't like watching the new Roseanne show. Like besides the fact that she's not on it, Like if she was on it, I'd probably still watch. But without her, and then with that fucking boy wearing all these girls' clothes, it was just totally turned me off. I just can't get into it.
But do you remember Moon Boots?
What is it?
Do you remember Moon Boots?
Moon boots?
Yeah.
No.
It should have been
No,
from your era.
It
I
probably
don't
was,
think we
but
can.
That's what I wanted. I wanted moon boots, and I didn't want the girly looking moon boots. The moon boots I got were boys' moon boots.
do you
I
remember
never
the rubber bands? The
the what?
different color bands that everyone wore?
Sort of. See, I
Like
didn't get
guys
into.
and girls like fucking wore these fucking bands, like
Oh,
sometimes two,
these,
three, four, five of
these
them, and they just
moon
twist them all
boots.
together.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
But see,
I
I
had
even back
bands.
then
oh,
I didn't like tennis shoes even that were girly tennis shoes.
Yeah,
I
tennis
got
shoes
my
suck.
I went and got my high tops in the boys section because I didn't want the girly stuff.
Hey, I got my high tops in the boys section too.
Hey, she shops in the kids section too. Because her size is like 5 or 6.
I always
Yeah,
had big feet, so
I can still wear little, well, boys tennis shoes, not little boys, but boys tennis shoes. I can still wear. I didn't like the girly stuff, even when I was a kid. You know, they take my great grandparents would take me out to get tennis shoes, and they pick up this or that. And I'm like, no. And I go over to the boys section. I
well,
like this one.
in, in all honesty, I think it's just a socially made up thing that some things have to be only for boys and some other things only for girls. Like, do whatever you like, wear whatever you like, as long as you're not doing any harm to anyone else.
oh, I
Just
agree with
be
people
yourself.
can wear what they want, but that doesn't mean I have to look at it.
I'm kind of the same way, but I've worked with a lot of people who are transgender, and I've just kind of gotten used to it.
I'm glad
somewhat,
I have not.
but when I first, like, for the longest time, I was really vehement against it, or had more stronger feelings, because that's how I was brought up. I was
Oh
brought
yeah, I
up
won't
to.
grow up like that.
I was brought up to believe that a boy wore boys' clothing. A boy did not have sexual relations with another boy. A girl did not have sexual relations with another girl.
No,
And
I did not see the boy thing was
it
bad
was
thing.
taboo.
The girl thing was great.
Oh, really?
It's just the way it was. I
No,
mean,
that's a double standard, man.
it is. It totally is. I agree. It is. I still agree with it. I still like it today. Like, I don't care if people are gay, but I don't want to see two guys kissing. I just don't. Look away, whatever.
Well,
Like,
I don't want to see two girls or two guys, but
two girls
Well,
kissing, I don't usually mind. Now, if it gets in the way of the story, like in Supergirl, I mind it because I'm not trying to get turned on. I'm just trying to watch fucking a Supergirl story. Yeah. Now, if Supergirl was kissing another girl, maybe I'd like it because I've always had a crush on Supergirl. But anyways,
when I was a
it depends on the story.
When I was a teenager, I also found it a bit strange to see two guys kissing, but over time I got used to it. It became normal. Okay, I'll admit it was a bit easier
It'll never be
for me
normal
to
to
see.
me.
It was a bit easier for me to get used to seeing two girls kissing than two guys kissing,
Well, yeah, because
but eventually
most guys is the turn on, so
I eventually learned it's all the same, and as long as both sides give their consent, they
Yeah.
are allowed to love each other if they
I
do,
know a
and
few
I
girls
don't
that
have
like
a
to see two
problem with
guys
that.
kissing, so some girls are just like the guys with that, you know.
All right, guys, we're getting away from this story big time.
Yeah, we
Definitely.
are.
Okay, yeah, true.
Because the story sucks and our stories are better.
Well, let's get back to the storyline. So
Okay.
we had the whole girls boots thing going on, but we also had the fact that suddenly there was a contest going on through their ranger, because rangers are the
Boy Scouts,
Lutheran
basically.
versions of Boy Scouts, and I was a ranger. I was also a Boy Scout, believe it or not.
I didn't know
Um,
Ranger was a real thing.
yeah, Rangers are a real thing in the Lutheran school systems. Rangers and Rangerettes are the Girl Scout and Boy Scout outs of the just like parochial school was Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts.
So was it
My
like
mom actually did sewed all the vests for my ranger, all the Rangers one year.
Yeah, that's the thing that's weird though, is that I saw a movie where all the boys end up going to like the Girl Scouts because the boys all had these things that they hated doing, and the girls had all these awesome things. So the boys like wanted to join the girls, you know. And of course, there's always a couple girls that want to join the Boy Scouts, and they always don't allow it. It's definitely still a segregation to this day that maybe should be dissolved, you know.
Well, I remember the Boy Scouts doing a lot more cooler stuff than the Rangers did, but the Rangers,
I was a boy. I was never a Boy Scout. I was a Cub Scout. I never made it to the big boys, to the Boy
I
Scouts.
was a Cub Scout, and then I ended up being a Wolf. I ended up making it to Wolf.
I don't remember what anything was.
But
I just know that I was a Cub Scout, and then we moved, and
and at
I wasn't.
most, the biggest thing that I remember about them years being a Boy Scout and a Ranger was the Pinewood Derby matches that we would go to, and the girls baking sale, because at our Lutheran school that we went to, uh, they baked anything that they wanted, and then you would be able to pay whatever you wanted to get it. So if you put $2 in to get like this whole
Yeah, I
thing
remember
of
hearing about that.
brownies, that was a thing, that was cool. I mean, you'd be able to come home with shitloads of desserts, because they were just that cheap, because you could put whatever you wanted in the bowl, or to them for the stuff, and that was cool. But
Yeah.
the Pinewood
Before we totally get into the wreath thing, not to interrupt you, David, what does everybody think of all of his friends? Because once we get into the selling of the wreaths, you get to see a little bit more of his friends. What does everybody think of all the friends so far?
I think they're good. They're normal friends, you know.
yeah, they were good.
You know, they weren't anything special, but they were their typical group of kids.
They were all a little bit different, and I think they were all like a little bit of outsiders. That's why they all
Yeah, I
became
mean
friends.
that's generally how it works. I mean, coming from being an outsider, yeah, that's how it usually works.
Yep.
That one kid though was the one that they said lied all the time. He was a trip.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we every everybody was that kid in my high school. Like everybody, not to hit to the degree of him, but everybody had that famous friend or famous relative. You know, Little Bird was my cousin when I was a teenager. So yeah, everybody had that embellishment of being friends with someone or related to someone famous. It was just the thing.
Was he famous?
Who?
Was that kid who lied or whatnot famous?
No,
I
he
don't.
just embellished. He came up with stories all the time.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, he came up
and
with
then when
stories
the
that.
wreath thing came, like you were bringing up, to the wreath sale, he really
yeah.
became something else to that.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
he did a really good job because the parents liked him. He was really good at even that's the only thing that pissed me off. His mother buys from fucking his friend and not from him.
Well, yeah.
That's fucked
And
up.
then her whole thing was, I didn't even know that you were selling wreaths, dear.
Like,
And he gave me such
seriously,
a good pitch.
pay attention to your fucking kid and to everybody else. And that mother needed to be smacked the fuck up.
Yeah.
Smack that bitch up.
But in any case, so ultimately the goal of the whole wreath sale thing was that the winner would receive a Nintendo
Nintendo.
system, and it said so on the fucking thing.
Yeah.
So I could see if I were a kid. I mean, that was such a disappointment for him.
If I was an adult, I'd be fucking disappointed. Fuck that. That was bullshit.
Yeah, but her,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, you saw how brainwashed his mother was.
You know
during
what?
that
You
whole
know
thing.
what they should have done is if they was getting so much flack with a Nintendo, given a gift certificate to a toy store, so at least that the kid could eventually get Nintendo when they came back in stock.
Yeah, they could have done that, but
That's what they should have fucking done. But they completely caved to the mothers and gave. Nobody wanted encyclopedias at that age. I mean, maybe you
well,
might have that one nerd that
and
really wanted the encyclopedias.
it took only pictures of the dog and the bloodiness and everything to convince the town, and it was kind of like an old school lynching where
Oh yeah, they totally went to Nintendo and blamed Nintendo instead of blaming the fucking little brat that did it.
I'm not gonna have this happen in our town.
It wasn't fucking Nintendo that fucking did it. It was the little brat that fucking did it because you was spoiled rotten, and that was the parents' fault.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. I must say, when they were receiving their awards, I really liked it when that other kid received a globe and just threw it in the trash in front of everyone.
Yeah, that was funny. That's what the main kid should have done with the encyclopedias.
Yes, I think they should have started the rebellion there, honestly.
What was their chant? Video game over or something like that?
Video game over.
Over.
Video
Oh,
game
yeah.
over. Video
Yeah.
game over. Yeah, it was so fucking redundant. It was. It was like, couldn't they come up with something else for
I actually thought that was kind of funny, but
I thought it was a little funny, but when I saw it again, for this time, I was
like I
come
said,
on.
I didn't want to torture myself with. I mean, even the stuff that I liked, I probably wouldn't like. So at least left a little bit of liking.
Well, in any case, the kid doesn't win the Nintendo, so he gathers his friends.
He
together.
wins, but just doesn't get a fucking Nintendo.
Yeah, he wins. But when that encyclopedia said that was a fucking tragedy.
It was horrible, absolutely horrible.
It was like the moment that my mom decided to donate my entire Goosebumps collection to the school library.
Oh, dude,
Oh,
that's rough.
Yeah. So I kind of felt how he felt, um,
Uh, what is it with giving someone else's possessions away
I
without
know.
asking?
I mean, it's like, okay, yeah, maybe the parents bought it, or maybe they didn't, whatever. But
it
still,
was
you gave
suggest
it to them. It was a
it,
gift.
it was
You know,
suggested as a punishment by one of my psychologists.
yeah. Oh, they need to get smacked upside the head. How would he like get someone into his house and grab some of his most prized possessions and
Wait,
fucking sold it to teach him a fucking lesson?
wait, Dave, are you
Asshole.
saying some psychologist said donating your things away would be a good thing to do?
Yeah,
What
and
a
it was said
douche.
separately from me in a conversation with my mom. So
What a fucking
Well,
douche.
that psychologist, if they still work, they deserve to lose their license to keep
Right?
doing that job, right?
I agree.
Fuck them.
but my mom I guess was at her loose ends with me during my teenage years. Things were rough back then. I was being abused by my dad, and um, things were really in a rough place. So, but
And you even get your fucking damn
Well,
books all back on.
if I can be brutally honest, if that was the case, she should have divorced your dad.
well, it's neither then here nor now, and things are a lot better than they were. It's just
So much
things
better
were rough.
than it was.
But in any case, moving on. So they have to come up with a solution to get this Nintendo. So at this point in time, they turn to the baseball cards that many of them have collected, which baseball cards were a thing. I remember collecting baseball cards.
Yeah, they were. I remember. I never did it, but they were.
Um, in my neighborhood, there were that same family of 10 that homeschooled their children. The oldest, his name was Aaron, and he and I traded cards back and forth. So I remember the Tops baseball cards having the gold cards in them because they would come with like 5 to 10
I just liked
gold
the gum. That was
cards.
horrible.
But well, gum didn't come with the baseball cards that we did, and also
they did when I was a kid.
I also remember being able to go up to the Milwaukee Cops at one point in time because they actually had Milwaukee Brewers baseball cards to hand out.
Oh, I remember that. I didn't collect
Okay.
baseball cards, but I remember the cops handing them out, and then I would just give them to people that I knew collected. But yeah, that was a thing then.
But and I also remember going to Robin Yount's 3000th hit game, and the game after that and getting that 3000th hit Robin Yount game book. So baseball was kind of a thing growing up. I wasn't a sports person, but I kind of got into the whole collecting cards while I was growing up
I get that
for a little bit.
Magic, but yeah.
I got into Magic more in my teenage years.
The reason I liked Magic the most was not just the fact that it was collecting, but you could play it too, and that's what I enjoyed. Was I loved playing the game, and I loved the collecting aspect. But
oh yeah, I loved
the game.
I loved the game too. I used to have a sliver deck.
I think that's part of why I tried. Like last year, I bought a box of cards, really inexpensive from eBay, and I was gonna keep doing that, but I don't know. I don't have anyone to play with anymore. So
I played Magic the Gathering when Gods of Wrath was still legal.
Yeah, it's not legal.
Gods of Wrath was an awesome card. Gods of Wrath was a card that you could destroy all creatures.
I'm saying it's not legal.
Wait, I'm sorry.
It's called Wrath of Gods, by the way.
Yeah, Wrath of Gods.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what's not legal and why.
It's one of my favorite cards.
It's not legal in game card circles. It's not illegal.
They can suck it.
It's not.
Ah.
The leagues.
It would have been at my uncle's house because my uncle had house rules.
Well, if you were to play in a regular card league,
Well, see, that's why I said I can't get into it because one, I don't want to go to a card shop, and if I did go to a card shop, I wouldn't be happy because I wouldn't be able to use half the things I like.
Well, yeah. All I'm saying is in regular rules, it's not whatever. So, but so they do end up selling enough to get the game, and they put a plan in motion. So here's the interesting thing. So that big King of the Mountain dude ends up taking the trapper that has the money, first of all. And then they're on the bus, and he's sitting next to the most annoying friend of his, because he's
wasn't
singing
even
that
really a friend. He was just that annoying kid.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. This movie kept reminding me of A Christmas Story a lot, because that kid reminded me of that kid in line in Santa, where she was like, "I like the Wizard of Oz."
Funnily enough, that movie was on TV in my country today.
I love A Christmas Story, so I could never compare this to A Christmas Story.
I compare it a little bit. I compare it a little bit because of the way it's narrated. It's narrated kind of like it, and I'm sorry, but some of the like the King of the Mountain moment reminded
disrespectful.
Reminded me of the whole tongue on the pole incident.
I don't see why, but I mean, they were both. It was both cold outside.
He was bullying all the other people on top of the mountain. The kids were bullying him to stick his tongue on the pole.
They were not bullying him.
That was a bully.
They were daring him.
Yes, that's bullying.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Tammy, was that bullying?
No.
It's more like peer pressure.
There you go.
So what's the difference between peer pressure and bullying? Not much.
Daring was the thing. Daring was the thing I've done. Everyone's done.
Daring is a bullying move.
Is a normal kid thing.
Daring is a bullying move.
No,
it is a way of bullying.
No.
Yep.
No.
What do you think? What do you think, Philippe?
Well, I think to the person who is receiving it, it might feel like bullying.
It's peer pressure.
While the person who is doing it might not be aware that it's affecting the other person negatively.
It's definitely peer pressure. It's not bullying.
I call it bullying. I'm sorry.
You have a choice to do it or not. Bullying, you don't really have.
You don't have a choice to do it or not with all those people there. No, you don't.
You do.
No, it's peer pressure. That means you're being bullied.
Exactly, it's peer pressure. You pressured to do it, but you don't have to do it. Whereas
you
have to do it.
Yeah, but with all your friends around you, and everybody in the school is looking at you, no, you have no fucking choice.
Of course you do.
No, you don't.
I've turned theirs down.
Well, in this situation, I
know plenty of people that have turned theirs down.
But then you get beat the fuck up. That's what happens afterwards.
Not from a dare, no.
Well, I've had it happen that way.
Well, you grew up in a different time period.
I grew up in a similar time period.
Similar but different.
But in any case, I call it bullying. You call it.
You also grew up in a different region too.
See, I just I just don't believe that peer pressure is a different thing than bullying. So
Totally
it's the
different.
same. Nope. But in any case, moving on. So we have that moment where the bully is taking the money, and he's at the back of the bus, and he's making fun of him while he's there. And he just decides to go back and go get the money. And
Well,
while
why is because the weird kid was just basically he didn't give a shit what anyone else thought. Like he wasn't afraid of anything. He wasn't. He did his own fucking thing, and
yeah,
and that's when the kid realized, you know what? Why should I be afraid of him? Like, I'm just gonna go back there and do it. So yeah, he definitely got some inspiration. He was definitely a weird kid, but in a way, he was right. He did he did what he wanted to do, and you know whether you liked him or not, he didn't care. He did his own thing. He was happy. He was a good.
mm-hmm.
He was a good inspiration. Inspirational character in a way. Like I said, yeah, he was that weird kid, but he did it. He was happy. He did his own thing.
And he didn't care who he
Exactly.
annoyed. So
Exactly. That's the problem with the kids is you care so much. You care so much that everyone likes you, that you give in to peer pressure and other stuff.
and when
But
he snapped, that was a totally great moment
it was
between
that was definitely
between a
that
bully.
was definitely probably one of the biggest highlights in the movie.
Oh yeah, and he was like, "Okay, I'll give it to you."
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
And also,
As he's got his boot in his chest, his girl boot.
it
Yep. Yep.
it
He
teaches
totally
us.
that bully wasn't even tough or anything. He was just really big, so he was intimidating and just made everyone think that he was like this big tough guy when he wasn't. He was just a fucking little wuss inside, and the kid, did it. He bullied him. He bullied the bully, which is great. And
Meanwhile,
and,
Yeah,
and it was right. I mean, it was his stuff. The fucking kid stole his stuff, and that was just horrible. That was definitely. It's like when bullies just steal people's lunch money and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, I had a lunch card,
yeah,
so it had my name on it, so nobody else could use it. So I couldn't get my lunch money stolen because mine was a card because I was poor. So it's a good thing about being poor. I always got lunch.
yeah.
I had
And
tickets.
I
Lunch
would
tickets.
also, I would also like to say that scene teaches us that even if some people may come off as annoying, that doesn't mean you should immediately dismiss them and not pay attention to anything they say, because you never know when they actually might say something useful.
but in any case, meanwhile, while this is happening, we've got a kid that has gone up to the front of the bus, and he starts, or she, whatever the case, starts to spew whatever he had like eaten like
Oh.
He
moments
was
before.
allergic to SpaghettiOs, and that was part of the plan.
Yeah, he bought a
Yeah.
SpaghettiOs.
ton. He
So
bought
he
a
went
ton
to the
of
SpaghettiOs.
not only SpaghettiOs, but he bought the generic brand that wasn't even really SpaghettiOs, which I might get sick from, and I love SpaghettiOs. So that generic brand is disgusting.
But the plan was for him to get sick
Yeah,
and
to
stop the
distract the
bus.
teachers.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that gives him moments to get out there with walkie-talkies. Now, walkie-talkies were a thing in the 80s too.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
I didn't have one, but they were.
I had a couple while I was growing up, and I remember getting this remote-controlled dinosaur, Tyrannosaurus Rex, that was wireless, and you could control him from anywhere inside the house. And he created steam while he was like walking, and so my aunt was had a boyfriend at the time that she never married, but that's not the
Not here or
situation.
there.
Yeah, but him and I were playing with the thing and playing with the walkie talkies, and I was upstairs and he was downstairs. I was having a blast. But in any case, so he gets to the mall, and the wife of the dude that's banning the shit is there with her friend, picketing the store in which he was going to go to. So they get the kid who lies to prank call them, and so that they can be distracted enough so that he can go in, grab the game system, get out of there, and return to the bus. What do you think about that situation?
The whole store thing was definitely really cool. Well thought out, planned, well executed until it wasn't. Basically, that part was great. You know, they took the kid that always was good at lying and gave him a good way to use his power to distract the moms.
I thought the plan was pretty cool. I mean, for their age and everything, the whole plan, the way it was thought out and everything, I thought it was pretty
Yeah.
neat. And then every
Yeah.
time there was an obstacle, they had enough whatever between all of them to figure out how to get past this obstacle that disrupted the plan.
Yeah, and that's the thing about having friends when you're growing up. You can learn how to work together to
Yep.
have adventures, and I think that goes hand in hand with the tree fort that was being built for him for more adventures in that aspect, because you saw pictures of them, you know, together on the tree fort. But I wish that they would have let him keep the Nintendo in some way, shape, or form instead of it just exploding in the middle of the road.
I
Was
mean, it was definitely
was
one of those holy shit moments. It was cool seeing it explode in a way, but it was definitely really awful. That that's why I figured at the end, the
wasn't that
parents were gonna get him the Nintendo and
Well, yeah, I thought it was going to be in that uncle thing, but then all of a
oh,
sudden,
the uncle, yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah,
thought
I
it
mean,
was
when the
going to be.
parents did it, I'm like, okay, well, at least the uncle came through.
And
And then, yeah.
that's
yeah,
another thing that reminded me of A Christmas Story, because at the end of everything,
No, because he did get the gun.
yeah, he did get
And
the,
he did shoot it, or he thought he shot his eye out
yeah,
because he shot his glasses. But
but the present falling out like that kind of reminded me of the gun sitting in the very far corner, and that's why I thought that this movie was perpendicularly somewhat lined up with The Christmas Story. Not to say that this is any better than Christmas Story.
or
I'm just
anywhere
saying.
close to as good as Christmas Story, or anywhere in the same fucking movie genre. But yeah,
I just think someone behind this.
okay, it's a movie about Christmas, and A Christmas Story is a movie about Christmas, so they are similar. That's it.
It's both about something that they want for Christmas.
But one gets it and one don't.
True.
Now,
But then
now
how
one
the
that
hell
gets
did he
it-
get the Nintendo?
Now the one that gets it realizes he doesn't really
Well-
want it after he got it, but that's a different thing.
At the end, he said that he eventually worked for it and bought it himself, which honestly, if they had put some more emphasis on that, maybe I wouldn't have even minded that twist. It would have been like, okay, I didn't get it for Christmas, but I did get it eventually. If they had put more emphasis on that, maybe it would have even been a good twist. But in the end, what they were trying to say was, you watch the whole movie about wanting to get a Nintendo, but the Nintendo doesn't really matter. No, fuck that. Mm.
So and so Christmas eventually happens for him and his family, and his dad goes and like buys a black market Cabbage Patch doll, and that's not even in
Well,
the
the doll
box.
that
Ooh.
everybody loves.
Which makes me think how many fleas or bugs could that thing have had, you know? You don't exactly know what you're getting. I mean, how dirty was the thing before you gave it to her, you know?
But
Okay,
that
I
guy,
was.
but that guy ends up helping him after he sees what happened with the Nintendo
Those
and it got smashed.
black market toys were I don't know. I think they were new. He just took them out of the box like they were stolen. So instead of making it look like they were stolen, they made it look like they were used. But I think they were brand new. They were just out of the box because they were
And the guy
stolen.
did end
Yeah,
up helping him too. You know, he's
Oh, he
felt
did.
bad.
The guy was nice, which is weird because someone who sells black market stuff like that are not typically nice. So.
well,
No.
Well, I was like, if that father went to such extents to get his daughter what she wanted, why the hell wouldn't he do the same for
I
his
mean,
son? What an
I'm gonna
idiot.
go ahead and say that the fort was really fucking awesome. But
Yeah.
again, okay, so the kid ended up loving the fort, but the father basically got him what he wanted. You know, he didn't get his son what his son wanted for Christmas. He got his son what he would have wanted. You know, I mean, the
Well,
kid ended up loving it because it
he
was
wanted
pretty fucking
his
awesome. I admit that it was awesome,
yeah.
but the kid wanted a Nintendo. So, it was just, I agree that he went through all his lengths to make sure his daughter got what she wanted, but, and the guy even had a Nintendo there that they could have gotten for a lot cheaper. Like, he saw the Nintendo there saying, Dad, it's there, and they just wouldn't fucking budge from it, and it was horrible. It definitely was horrible for him. They cared about their daughter, and they didn't really give a shit about their son. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just definitely it was fucked up. I mean
Yeah.
that treehouse was awesome, and he of course ended up loving it, but
But I think they should have gotten him the Nintendo in the end, anyways.
exactly, it's what he really wanted. It,
Or at least something similar, you know.
it wasn't anything similar. There was Nintendo or nothing. Sega was Sega. I mean, I had a friend
At
that had
that
Sega,
point in
so
time, no, there wasn't something similar.
Sega
You
was
are correct.
not a Nintendo.
No, it definitely was not,
Honestly,
and it was a heck of a lot more to connect that shitty bastard than it was to.
I had a friend, like I said, I had a friend that played Sega, so I got to play Sega, and he would come over and play the better system than my Nintendo. I'd much rather have owned Nintendo and have a friend that played Sega, which is what I got. So definitely one of my best memories.
Well, now that we've reached the end, why don't we talk about production? What did we think about the production of the film?
well, I guess it was okay with the story being the way it is. Not much out of this world stuff going on. It didn't require too many special effects and stuff like that. Well,
Yeah,
maybe the explosion and some things like that.
And the voiceover for the Nintendo.
that
Uh,
was that was
oh
neat.
yeah, yeah, that was good. I forgot that.
The whole fact that they were puppeteering the Nintendo door to entice him away from everything, and I don't know why, but I liked that whole moment where he was shouting his name, Jake, whatever, and it seemed
Oh, I definitely agree.
he believed that everyone in the mall was cheering his name.
Yeah.
Jake,
The
they
only
probably
thing I
were.
didn't like in the production was when he was chasing down that retainer and he got it and he put it. Ugh. He
Oh
put it in his
yeah.
mouth, but it was so gross. That was just like you didn't have. You could have let him like wipe it off or something. before you put it in his mouth.
Well, yeah,
That
it had been, it went that it was mop water that it went through. So, but
that was quite a scene though, with the father chasing him through the mall.
yeah, and he just slid on that floor like it was nothing.
But I think the production was pretty good overall. Like you said, for the most part, there wasn't anything or any scenes that were like unbelievable or that
Oh,
they couldn't have
there was
happened.
one scene that we got to mention was the roller rink.
Well, that's where they put the plan in motion for to get do the cards because while they were at the roller rink, they were celebrating the twins' birthday, and the twins felt like they were getting cheated because their birthday's right by Christmas. And that's when
Oh
they found that
yeah.
card that was worth $99, and that's when they put that plan in motion about selling the cards.
Yep, but I thought that there were definitely a lot of nods to the '80s in this production for the specific purpose of nostalgia. Like in the very beginning, they had the '80s synth in the music, and then they also playing "Turn Me Loose" by Loverboy throughout the during that whole rich kid scene. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Well,
I was getting into the music.
I thought the production was actually really good because it was believable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
It's not.
right.
I mean, I
What'd you
thought the
think, Kroll?
production was okay for what it was, but like I said, it wasn't really as nostalgic as it should have been. I can't really pinpoint exactly what it was missing per se. It didn't give me that feeling like, say, I watched Stranger Things, and it's nostalgic, fucking blows up my face. I love it. Most stuff I watch that are supposed to be nostalgic
Oh yeah,
is nostalgic. This movie
Stranger
is
Things
this
was a
movie is
hell of a lot.
100% nostalgic. It's supposed to be nostalgic, but it really didn't feel like it was. So they definitely just they failed. They failed on that, and that was its biggest draw was nostalgia. I mean, I personally don't like documentaries at all, and I would have much rather have watched a documentary on Nintendo like I did for Sega, and than this movie. So that says a lot to me.
Alrighty. And Boris, did you say something about production?
Well, I think I mostly said what I was going to say. It was good for what it required. I guess what I said as not much out of this world was going on there. They didn't have any difficult things to do to begin with in that aspect, as far as I know. So it was okay, I would say.
Okay. Let's talk about favorite scenes. Tammy, what was your favorite scene of the or scenes from this movie?
I guess my favorite scene is when he put the bully in place. I thought that was just awesome because he's so much smaller than him, and he just told him how it was. And then there's that boot. He hit his boot, the girl boot, right in the guy's chest, and he's just telling him how it is. And he's like, and then he gets done. He goes, "Yes, these are girl boots, and my mother bought them, but I don't like these boots, but I love my mother."
Mm.
And it just I thought that was a really good scene.
Man, that was a good scene. Too bad his mother doesn't love him.
Indeed, that would be probably my favorite scene as well. Although, yeah, as you Kroll say, what did you say? That mother didn't show much that she loved him. Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. Like I said, throughout the whole movie, we didn't really get one single moment of those parents showing that they cared what their son felt like. And in all honesty, I thought those parents were a pair of assholes and such. Call them CPA.
Mhm. Okay. I'm gonna say my favorite. One of my favorite scenes is the bully moment, but my other favorite moment is the King of the Mountain moment. For some reason they made him so gigantic on top of that mountain. It just brought back some nostalgia for me of playing King of the Mountain, and that is one of my favorite scenes. Although I do love the execution of their plan, of their plan to get the Nintendo.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was about to say that was my second favorite scene too, with the vomiting and stuff and the prank call. Yeah, that was good. If only it hadn't ended in a fucking spoodow.
Alrighty. Did anyone else have anything to say about the music?
Well, I did have a favorite scene, but unfortunately, my favorite scene is actually one you see in the trailers. So you don't actually have to watch the movie to enjoy the best scene. The part where they're talking about, is how the Cabbage Patch doll was so popular, and the woman goes and punches the her grandmother out, and the janitor saying one woman punched another one out, and they were in the same family, and that scene was just funny. I mean, a good runner-up that actually is in the movie that you have to watch is probably him with the arcade calling his name and calling him to play it, and all the kids cheering. I had something similar um happen with me. I was went to a place called Child World where they had a TV and Nintendo hooked up to it, so they didn't have a fancy thing, but they had a Nintendo hooked up to it. It's called Child World was the name of the toy store. And I went and I had just beat Mike Tyson, so I had a code to get to Mike Tyson. So I put in the code, and all of a sudden, the whole store was there watching me play and cheering me on as my little Mac beat the crap out of Mike Tyson. So that was nostalgic for me personally, because of that moment. So I definitely really enjoyed that one too. Um, it was definitely a good moment in the movie. So I just wanted to point that out.
I didn't think
Whoa.
this movie was as bad as some of you thought, but I definitely see all of your guys' points as far as things. But hopefully, you ladies and gentlemen have enjoyed our discussion on this film, and just go out and watch the movie at least once, and let us know down in the comments what you thought of the film, because everyone has a different opinion, and not everyone's going to like the same thing. So,
Yeah,
Yeah, if
well,
you want to
I would
watch it,
say
watch it. That's always my advice. I mean, I I've I tend to disagree with a lot of people. I tend to disagree with critics. So even when everyone else is saying no, not to watch something, I watch it and usually like it. So I never listen
well,
to someone else's opinion on things, and you know.
I wouldn't actually go as far as to say the whole movie is bad because I actually did enjoy watching it for the most part, so it would be hypocritical if I said it was entirely bad, but the ending ruined it for me. I can't deny that.
and next week we are going to be going back to the Omen, and finishing off
Oh.
with the Omen remake from, I think it was 2005 or 2006.
2006 for
Yeah.
I think it came out on June 6, 2006. I think
Oh, he
they
even has
played
it down
on.
to he even has it down to a correct science. Which means it's probably
Oh.
going to be a good discussion. So come back with us probably the same day, same time, and we
Same
will.
bat channel, same bat time.
And have a great day, evening, or morning, wherever you are. And for those of you still celebrating Christmas, have a happy holidays.
And always
Thank
remember,
you, happy.
Nanu Nanu.
And hoot hoot.
Howl, howl.
Ow!